This is James Corden destroys
James
reputation.
Corden has slowly developed one of the worst reputations in media history, and the foundation for his decline began when people started to realize that James Corden was a completely different person when he wasn't on camera. As an actor and the main host of The Late Late Show, James presents as a happy, polite, easygoing comedian whose goal is to simply make the audience laugh, although there's a mountain of evidence showing that in his private life he's the exact opposite to this, with his rude nature developing after he first became famous back in 2008. As a result of his excellent performance on a British TV show called Gavin and Stacey, James would win the British equivalent of an Oscar, although accompanying this award was an ego boost that began to get out of control.
You can start to think you're perhaps a bit more of a dude than you really are, and that very much happened to me. You know, I had a swagger in my walk.
As mentioned, James Corden's sudden explosion into fame led him to believe that he was more of a dude than he really was, which would eventually translate into him treating everyone around him like garbage. James explained that as 2008 wore on, it got so bad I was being rude to my agent, and I even started being rude to Ruth. If I was in company and the conversation wasn't revolving around me, I would just switch off. In addition to being rude to everyone around him, Corden began to live a typically irresponsible, newly famous lifestyle.
I'd started going out quite a lot. This door had opened to this world that I thought looked like fun, where people go, "You're amazing, you're great, can I have a photo? Do you want a drink? Come out with us." And so you just end up on this path of just 3 a.m. cab rides with people you don't know, heading across London to someone's house who you don't know either, with a group of people who think it's amazing that you're there. This is an intoxicating thing to be part of.
All of which being noticed by another Gavin and Stacey actor, Rob Brydon, who explained that when he first met James Corden 6 years prior, he was very impressed by him, yet after winning the Oscar award, James Corden was on a roller coaster. This boy from High Wycombe, and he's suddenly enjoying the fruits of his success, and he just lost his way for a bit. He was burning the candle at both ends and becoming ratty and irritable. James Corden claimed that his streak of irresponsibility came to an end after attending 18 months of therapy, although even after this, there were still countless examples of him treating people like garbage. For example, James Corden stated in a BBC4 interview that he needed to bully his way to the top of the media world, which can be observed in certain events such as the time he get into a public argument with another incredibly respected actor, Patrick Stewart, whilst on stage.
When the presenters are up here and when the recipients are receiving their awards, don't stand at the back of the stage with your hands in your pockets, looking around as though you wished you were anywhere but here.
Oh, you couldn't be more wrong, sir. And if it looked like that, I'm so sorry. But when you come up and present an award, just get on with it.
After Patrick Stewart would confront James about looking disinterested during the presentation, the argument would escalate in front of everyone.
Sorry, I'm waiting for the punchline. Go on. No, seriously, go on.
Okay.
No, go on. You can see my belly. And we can all see you dying right now. Let's go for it. Here we go.
Which was concluded by James and Patrick bickering in the background while someone else was talking on the microphone. Now, to cut James some slack, Patrick Stewart was probably in the wrong here, considering he was the person who began the argument. Interestingly, after James Corden gave him a very favourable introduction.
What was really confusing about it was I gave him like a massive intro.
Yeah, I know.
I said, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome an actor who's held in such high esteem. Please welcome the brilliant Sir Patrick Stewart. And then he came up and did that.
Although James still decided to engage and clap back with a few jabs of his own, so it's safe to say that he also had some degree of responsibility. There are other examples of similar situations where James has acted rudely, however, only after being provoked by someone else first. Countless paparazzi videos show James walking through Los Angeles looking quite angry and disinterested, although having a camera involuntarily shoved into your face probably doesn't facilitate the best environment for a good mood. There was also the time when Ant and Dec played a prank on James Corden, attempting to make him late for work, although considering they were literally going out of their way to make him angry, James probably gets another pass here. However, when James Corden would post one of the most brutal Reddit Ask Me Anythings in internet history, 3 fan interactions were highlighted, which James had absolutely no excuse for. Hey James, you won't remember me, but me and my friend sat at a table next to you and Harry Styles plus some others in Manchurian Legends in London's Chinatown about 6 years ago. We didn't bother you, but you were a massively entitled dick who yelled and treated the wait staff like shit, and when one of my party politely suggested you calm down, you got really aggressive and threatening. So my question is this: why did Harry seem so cool while you were such a massive throbbing bellend? This post was followed by another which read, I went to a James Corden live recording a while back. He had nearly zero interaction with the audience before/after the show and was on his phone entirely during commercial breaks. I guess that's his prerogative. He may have been having a bad day. I also realize it must be difficult to be on all the time, but I remember being extremely disappointed. By comparison, I've been to a Jimmy Fallon recording and a Letterman recording, and I can say with full conviction that those guys really seem seem like they cared about their audience and worked their hardest to entertain them, even while the cameras weren't recording, which was followed by one final anecdote reading, "Massive dick in person. I saw a league of their own filming live. Through multiple tantrums over minor things at the production staff, with him being incredibly rude to them, which made the other regulars seem very awkward like it was usual. Between each take, the other celebs would be chatting amongst themselves, bantering about. James was glued to his phone. At the end of the filming, people got up to go get pictures with James, and he massively kicked off shouting at people to go away and go back to their seats, and the few he did let have pictures with, he was moody as. Seeing him like that made me realize everything you see of his on TV is a complete persona. When continuing on through the AMA, it becomes pretty obvious as to why James Corden only answered 3 different questions before calling it quits. Why are you, James, such a deeply unpleasant person? Did your parents raise you that way? Have you ever considered being funny or likable? James, are you aware that everyone thinks you're a hack and a talentless asshat? With his third comment here relating to the next reason behind James Corden's decline. Many of his on-screen performances have simply been terrible. A petition requesting that James Corden not be cast in Wicked the movie gained close to 110,000 signatures, and after Friends announced that James Corden would be hosting the TV show's 15-year reunion, he'd received Twitter responses such as, "Don't get me wrong, I've been wanting a Friends reunion since 2004, but if someone told me James Corden would be in it, I'd have told them not to bother." James Corden adding the Friends reunion to the list of things he's ruined with his mere presence. Additionally, after starring as the main character in the 2019 film Cats, the movie received a 2.8 out of 10 star rating on IMDb, as well as reviews so awful that James Corden didn't even end up watching the movie himself. However, James stating that he didn't watch the movie wasn't the only thing that was interesting about this interview, as he'd also discussed another topic which had turned much of his audience against him, his beef with another talk show host, Bill Maher. In September of 2019, Bill Maher published an editorial about obesity, with the contents of such being discussed on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Look, you can't keep eating as much as you want and as shitty a food as you want. You just can't.
That is not something that anybody wants to hear, though.
People loved it until James Corden said something.
As mentioned, James Corden wasn't too happy with these comments and would call Bill Maher out by making both some reasonable arguments.
If making fun of fat people made them lose weight, there'd be no fat kids in schools and I'd have a six-pack by now.
As well as some awful ones, such as a zero personal responsibility statement that Bill Maher was simply lucky to have a body that burned more calories than him.
We're not all as lucky as Bill Maher, you know? We don't all have a sense of superiority that burns 35,000 calories a day.
Which Bill interpreted as the easy, low-risk way out of the argument.
He missed a great opportunity to literally save lives. He took the easy way out. Of course, you can always get applause for saying, "Oh, let's boo the mean man who's told the truth." That's not brave.
As is usually the case with these kinds of topics, there were supporters for both sides of the argument. However, James unnecessarily forcing himself into such a divisive conversation where people already disagree with him was probably a net negative toward his reputation, just like the time his carpool karaoke was outed for being fake. The segment during which James Corden drives around singing songs with various famous musicians was called out by a user on Twitter in early 2020 after they noticed Justin Bieber and James Corden in a car, which wasn't being driven but rather being pulled on a trailer. The video would rack up over 14 million views, which prompted an incredibly hilarious response from James Corden himself, in which he would go ahead and debunk the claim that the series had been faked.
95% of the time, I really am endangering the lives of the world's biggest pop stars. Here is a list of every carpool karaoke where I've used a tow, and this is a list of every one where I was driving the car, okay?
However, while Corden did a pretty good job of debunking these claims, there are still countless comments on every carpool karaoke from people who never saw the debunk calling the videos fake. This all feels so fake when you know he's not actually driving. Fake news, James isn't actually driving. James Corden, stop cheating people with your carpool karaoke. Can't believe all these celebrities put up with this fake show. Next time at least drive the damn car. It seems like even when James Corden is in the right, his audience selectively decides that he's still in the wrong, which has also been speculated as part of the reason behind his recent announcement that he's leaving the public spotlight. On the 29th of April 2022, James Corden would upload a video to his YouTube channel titled James Corden Discusses His Late Night Future, in which he'd announced that he'd only be hosting the show for 1 more year.
I've decided to sign for 1 more year on the show and that this will be my last year hosting The Late Late Show.
In a different interview, James Corden specified that his motive for leaving the entertainment industry was to spend more time with his family.
I don't want to do it forever. We're a really long way away from home, and we're a really long way away from people who are getting older, and we're a really long
Just
way
want to
from
retire,
them if
guys.
something should ever happen. And that plays on
But
my
you caught
mind a
up
lot.
here.
However, many have speculated that being such a disliked celebrity has put an unbearable amount of pressure on him, which becomes especially obvious when looking at the comments regarding his retirement. James Corden is a talentless bag of garbage. Goodbye, good riddance. Finally, we don't want him anymore. Ruins everything he's involved in. Probably one of the most annoying people in the business, it
Okay,
seems. Please don't come back to the UK. Please don't come back to the UK. Please don't come back to the UK. With each of these comments being accompanied by flattering articles such as, "Farewell, James Corden, you were an asshole."
It's not that bad. I mean, this depends on playing a character and just saying things. He's entertainer, so that bad sharing thing is kind of cringe. He shouldn't have probably done that. Without that,